Have you seen a difference between first-round LeBron versus him deeper in the playoffs?
To me, it's all about the durability. I don't believe that LeBron James is healthy. He's not even close to 100%. And I think that, unfortunately, that's what he's going to need to be in order to win the chip, and to repeat as a champion. He's not winning his 5th championship if he's less than 100%. And he swears that he's never going to be 100% again. Well, damn it, you better be close. All right, I'll throw it at 99. I'll throw it at 98. I'll throw it at 95. You better be up there in the high 90s in order to repeat, because it's too much of an arduous road that he and the Lakers are going to have to travel in order for him to pull this out. Everybody ain't the Golden State Warriors. We understand what Steph Curry is, but we also understand that Golden State this particular season has its limitations. That may not be the case with the Los Angeles Clippers or the Denver Nuggets or the Portland Trail Blazers. Whoever the hell you're going to end up going up against is probably going to be Portland. But the bottom line is that's really what this comes down to. And you certainly going to need all you can do if you're going to go up against the Brooklyn Nets or even the Milwaukee Bucks or the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't believe that LeBron James is healthy right now. Hopefully he can get it together. But right now, durability is a huge, huge, huge question mark. And that's my concern with him right now.
So wait, so is your concern that he's going to be worse off early because he's hurt, or as the playoffs go on, it's going to get worn down even more? So he'll be better.
As the playoffs go on, he's going to get worn down even more.
That's possible. I mean, that's possible that happens. I think if the Clippers were avoiding the Lakers in the first round, that's probably that's probably entered their minds and factored into their thinking. I think if you saw that playing game against Golden State, though, Clippers made a mistake. Get them early while they're cold. Don't wait for them to get ahead of steam. Because Stephen A., LeBron, to me, it has nothing to do with whether it's early or late in the playoffs. It simply has to do with how much they need him. With the exception of the series in Dallas, the first time he'd been to a finals with a chance to win, because he dragged the Cleveland team, what was that, 07, kicking and screaming to the finals. They had no business in the finals. They had no shot. But that Miami team was supposed to win, and because LeBron choked, an all-time choke job, fourth quarter, didn't want the ball, they lost. That's the only time I saw LeBron really choke. Otherwise, he was learning. He just got there. Whose team is it? Him or Dwayne Wade? All that stuff. Since then, he has been one of the great clutch players in any sport you ever want to see. He's come through so many times, it's even hard to remember them. And it's not about whether it's early in the playoffs or late. It's about when they need him to do it. And it's also not just about scoring the ball. And it's also not just about offense. LeBron has some of the most memorable defensive plays not just in the finals, throughout the playoffs. He's had some of the most incredible defensive assignments for a guy where you're like, wait, he's guarding the point guard, and the point guard is the fastest thing on 2 feet, and LeBron's a forward, and he's guarding that dude. He will do whatever his team needs to do to be successful, whether it's early or late. I don't see a difference between early playoffs LeBron and late playoffs LeBron. And Stephen A., I appreciate your point that maybe he gets worn down, or maybe if they can finish off some series early, he can get a little rest, heal up, and get ahead of steam going, and get the chemistry and the rhythm right with the team, and integrate Schroeder and AD properly, and be more dangerous as it goes on.
Well, I get where you're coming from. I mean, listen, like I said, LeBron James hasn't given us any reason to doubt him, but we haven't seen LeBron in this situation in the playoffs. The closest we've seen LeBron to this situation is when he caught those cramps against San Antonio in the finals, when the AC, as DJ Khaled came on the show and said, the AC ain't working. You know what I'm saying? They don't love you no more. They don't love you no more. They remember DJ Khaled came on First Take and said that years ago in South Beach. Talk about the AC being compromised and all of that other stuff. And LeBron caught those cramps, okay? He wasn't the same. They lost that series. We get all of that. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. I think on a serious note, as it pertains to injury, we've never seen LeBron come into a postseason looking this way. Yeah, he turned it on in the second half, but I was there for that game the other night, Max. That first half, I mean, he was awful. And Anthony Davis was awful too. And I think their health and the absence of rhythm, because they've been compromised by health and had to miss so many games, has really, really been a challenge for them. And against the Golden State Warriors, you could get away with it. Against the other teams in the playoffs this year, I don't think so. So we'll see.
That's the real calculus, I think, or the calculation that a team like the Clippers or any team they might see in the playoffs has to make about the Lakers. Do you think that he'll be more hurt later on because they have to play and play and play on these nagging injuries? And does that make it better to get him later? Or does the chemistry offset that? Because they haven't played together a lot recently, that they'll integrate all the pieces right, get a head of steam going, get the rhythm going, and that'll offset whatever, kind of drawback injuries have over time. I don't know the answer to that question. If I were a team, I'd rather catch the Lakers early than late. I think once they get into a rhythm, they'll be able to deal with whatever nagging injuries. But I'd rather catch them cold early than deal with them late.
Stephen A., tell me this, because I know you are concerned about the health, obviously, and we know the Suns are legit. They're the 2 seed. How much or what exactly do you need to see from Anthony Davis so they can get the job done here?
He's got to be a man amongst boys. I don't want to see Anthony Davis just shooting jump shots. I'm not saying that can't be a part of his repertoire. But Anthony Davis is a formidable presence on the front court with his back to the basket, in the post, schooling cats. And defensively, obviously, he's a shot blocker as well. He needs to be a dominant big man. He can't give DeAndre Ayton any life. He can't allow that young man to believe he belongs on a court with Anthony Davis throughout this series. And Chris Paul and those boys have been in DeAndre Ayton's ear and preaching to him about how important he is to the success of this team. They don't have a shot at winning it all if DeAndre Ayton doesn't show up against the big boys in the West. Anthony Davis, Jokic, Rudy Gobert, and others. DeAndre Ayton has to have a presence, and they know it. Anthony Davis has to kill that before he gets any kind of momentum whatsoever, or it could give Phoenix even more life than we realize, and they could end up winning this series.
Who do the Lakers need to worry about more, CP3 or Booker?
CP3, because of his floor generalship and leadership. Devin Booker's a scorer machine. He's a young star. Love him. But we understand that the difference with this year's team is CP3, the leadership and tutelage that he's helped Monty Williams and the staff provide to the rest of the young players out there. Him and Jay Crowder, I can't say enough about, the pickup of him and how much he's helped them as well. That experience is what we're going to be looking for. Because the reason I got the Lakers winning this series, albeit in 7 games, is because I expect LeBron and his experience to ultimately come shining through. But if there's anybody that can galvanize the troops and peel everything out of them, it's somebody like CP3. Wherever he goes, the team gets better. When he departs, they get worse. It's that simple. And that's the case with the Phoenix Suns right now. So I would say CP3.
Yeah, though he's never been to a conference finals. Look, I agree CP3 has those intangibles you're talking about. Nothing you can do about that. What are you going to do about his leadership? What are you going to do about his decision-making? You can't even counteract that. The thing to worry about is Devin Booker. Because Devin Booker, as I see it, has a game that he reminds me of a little mini Kobe. Like, he can score from anywhere, almost no matter what you do. And when the lights shine brightest, it seems to me he plays better. In the bubble last year, he was killing the game. This man scored 70 points, 70, in an NBA game when he's 20 years old. And the whole thing about, is he an empty calorie stats dude on a bad team? No. In the bubble, they were 8-0, and he was scoring more than 30 points a game. No, he's a big stat dude on a team that doesn't lose. I mean, over the span of the last, plus the bubble this season, bubble plus this season, they have the best record. And Devin Booker is their best scorer. What do the Lakers do about that? You gonna put KCP on him? You're gonna bring Wes Matthews off the bench and try and stop him? What are you gonna do about Booker? You may have to put LeBron James at some points, bad ankle and all on him, because LeBron, we've seen shut down guys like Derrick Rose at times in the finals or in the playoffs back then. Like, Booker is a real problem for the Lakers right now.
Obviously, guys, both of these gentlemen are key pieces for what Phoenix is trying to do, but I'm taking this one to Chris Paul in this conversation. Yes, Devin Booker is a prolific scorer, but the Lakers also have prolific scorers. And a matchup that's really interesting to me in this one is Dennis Schroeder and CP3. We know that CP3 is the general. He's the difference in this team's performance this year compared to last year. But those are two guys that know each other. We know that Chris Paul is all about gamesmanship, talking to the refs, talking a little trash, maybe a little chicken wing here or there. So I think his ability maybe to unsettle someone that he knows so well in Dennis Schroeder could be something that we need to keep an eye on in this particular ball game. But it's definitely CP3 as the floor general, distributing for these guys, as well as playing that pick and roll with DeAndre Ayton. So I'm taking CP3 on this one, although Devin Booker is 100% going to be important.
Let's also understand one thing that's very important, Max and Monica, is this. The acquisition of Andre Drummond is significant because when you have an additional big body to put in a low post and you're not asking Anthony Davis to man up, per se, literally man on man, and he can play that role of a spy, essentially on the front line, patrolling the front line from a shot blocking perspective. That limits what you can do on the interior. Now, we look at DeAndre Ayton, and obviously he's shooting about, 56% from the field or something like that. So, he's averaging about 14 a game. The bottom line is you're going to expect something from him, a little something. He's going to have to do something. But if you're looking at everybody else, particularly the guard play, they're going to have to score. If the Lakers get back on defense, which obviously we expect them to do, you're going to have to be able to score from the perimeter primarily because you're not going to be able to do but so much on the interior. And that's what we have to take into account, the length of the LeBrons, the length of even an Anthony Davis who can get out on perimeter shooters, the length of even a Kyle Kuzma who's a legit 6'8". When you've got that kind of size, it turns you into a perimeter team primarily. And can Phoenix beat this Lakers team playing that way? That's a question mark.
Yeah, there's no debate there, but I want to pick up on what you said, DeAndre Ayton, right? Like, I liked Phoenix a lot in the preseason because I said 8-0 in the bubble, you add Chris Paul. This is not like, hey, how are Westbrook and Beal going to play together? Maybe great, but I need to see that, or even Harden and Kyrie. This was on paper, damn. Chris Paul and Devin Booker, it sounds good to me, and it has been. But another reason you really like Chris Paul on this team preseason is the only question mark for me on that team heading into the year was, ironically, their number one overall pick center, right, who's already pretty good. But they're 3-and-D forwards. They don't need the ball to be effective. They can shoot. They can defend. Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, you know what that's going to be. Chris Paul and Devin Booker, you have a good idea what that's going to be. Chris Paul's effect on DeAndre Ayton, that's what you want to see, and it's been a good one. But I think DeAndre Ayton is still a little too green. If this was 2 years from now, then maybe I would agree with you guys about Chris Paul. But I think DeAndre Ayton is still a little green for this matchup with the Lakers. And so even Chris Paul's effect on him, I don't think is going to decide the series.
By the way, I said I was mistaken. I said 56% from the field. It's 62% from the field that DeAndre Ayton is shooting this year. But go ahead, Monica.
Definitely a fantastic leap by Ayton. Here's my thing, though, Max. If the Lakers run the pressure that we're suggesting at Devin Booker, right? We're seeing multiple guys hounding him. Maybe we see some double teams. It's going to be imperative to make plays, right? And I still give that playmaking edge, obviously, to CP3. Like, Book is going to have to find the open guy, and he's not going to be able to go full-out Kobe throughout the course of a series. May he have some Kobe moments, but he can't be launching that thing over two guys consistently throughout the course of a series. Also, I do think that if the Suns are going to make a move, it's going to be in the earlier games. While the Lakers got the win over the Warriors, and I know you guys debated whether or not LeBron's shot was luck, there were also some moments in that game where you could see there was still some rust from this team lacking some continuity, some passes that were just a little bit ahead or a little bit behind and just a little bit off. So if the Suns are going to strike, they're going to have to strike early in this series.
And you also got to remember that LeBron, like last year, they lost game 1 to Portland. And then they came back and won 4 straight. They figured things. LeBron figures things out. So, those earlier games are more pivotal for the Suns than it is for the Lakers. Because with LeBron, he usually figures something out. But if he gets ahead of you, there's no turning back. That's really what this